Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all.
Best holiday movie trope.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Hal, 'tis the season, my friend.
We made it.
We made it. We made it to the holiday season after a year of a year two of whatever it is we're dealing with, whatever it is everybody's dealing with. We made it this far.
Yeah.
And now we get to treat ourselves with some holiday movies.
I'm so excited. And we have a great guest with us who is a fellow Max Fun host, one of the hosts of Maximum Film. He is a film critic and has also authored books, including Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas and the now available to you, fresh off the presses in 2021, I'll Be Home for Christmas movies. Alonso Duralde, hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me, guys.
This is so exciting.
This is a pleasure. I love, now there's a list. I want to talk a little bit. I mean, you're a film critic, so you know your stuff. We are two morons who talk about movies all the time.
Hey, your take on the body switch movies. I just listened to that episode today. Very cogent, very,
thanks.
So we're very honest.
My goodness. That's like our good housekeeping stamp of approval.
I know. This is amazing.
I'm not as enamored with Vince Vaughn as you guys are, but you can't have everything.
Sure, that's fair.
Well, to be fair, I just watched Four Christmases again, so I may never break that spell.
Yeah. Ask Reese about Vince and how she feels about him.
So you've written books about this, and we're going to be talking about general holiday tropes, but also a specific subset in Hallmark.
Yes.
What is it about the Christmas or holiday movie that lends itself so readily to all these different tropes?
Well, I think that the thing about, Christmas media, but really Christmas, almost everything, it's about enjoying the things you've already enjoyed. Like it's the one time a year that you will bring out the certain decorations. You will bring out the albums that you don't listen to the rest of the year. Suddenly Andy Williams is on FM radio. There is a comfort in nostalgia and in familiarity. So I think that when it comes to looking for tropes in movies, holiday movies, and especially Hallmark holiday movies, where they just want you to have the exact same experience every time with only the details being changed. It's a feature, not a bug. It's the idea that I know exactly what I'm getting into because it's Christmas and I want to know exactly what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just going to be, watching White Christmas for the 43rd time. Not that there's anything wrong with that either.
Sure. To be fair, you can watch several Hallmark movies in a row, and it is like watching the same holiday movie for a 43rd time quite often.
I have said that it is ideal nursing home television because you can nod off during one, wake up during the next one, and you still have a pretty good idea of what's happening and what's about to happen.
On that note, it was you can guess what's going to happen, not the nursing home of it, because she is not nearly there yet, has many, many more decades ahead of her. But my sainted mother in February of 2018 sent me an email because I said, I bet you know these movies so well you could write one. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Hal. My mom sent me an email about what she views as the structure of a Hallmark movie. And if I may, I will run through this as quickly as I can. And I think it is kind of dead on for a lot of things. Some of the tropes that she mentions in this might actually be on our list. But if you will indulge me a moment, this is from my mother. Hey, Marky. That's what she calls me. Just finished watching the latest Hallmark. Beginning. Get to know the main characters separately. Both are too busy with careers to date. 12 minutes in, characters meet, clash. 30 minutes, they start to admire things about each other. 40 minutes, man starts to become more likable. She notices. 45 minutes, truce. They decide they make a good team. 55 minutes, they learn about each other's history and childhood. 60 minutes, they give each other, quote, the look. They get together for dinner, both claiming it is not a date. At an hour 10, they get dinner together and learn more about each other. At an hour 20, a musical segment that shows them separately doing their thing in montages. An hour 30, he gets a big break requiring him to leave town. This is where some kind of conflict happens. An hour 44, they admit to their friends that they have feelings for the other person. At an hour 56, everything starts to work out. They realize their feelings. At an hour 59, kiss. The end. And then a bunch of emojis. That is my mom's breakdown of a Hallmark movie, and it is brilliant, I think.
Your mom could teach a seminar. I have heard writers of these movies. There is a definite 9-act structure in place.
9 acts?
9 acts because of the commercial breaks.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the definites is that thing where he has to leave town or she has to leave town or one of them thinks the other one is betrayed, blah, blah, blah. That is known as the all is lost moment. That's the thing I've learned over the years. But it can't be so bad that the audience won't buy them eventually working it out and getting back together. It's generally something either kind of frivolous or a misunderstanding that's easily papered over. It's not like a horrible, horrible betrayal or something.
Yeah. My God, I've got to go stop a serial killer. Wait, what? This took a turn.
That's on Movies and Mysteries. That's a whole other thing.
This isn't Christmas necessarily. I mean, it's not Christmas at all. I don't even think they have a Christmas episode. Mm-hmm. Have either of you watched the Netflix series Virgin River?
No.
No, but a lot of people I know who love Hallmark also love Virgin River.
It is, yes. Netflix has started a whole branch of programming aimed towards that Hallmark Lifetime sort of family feel-good, family-focused content. And this is a television show where it feels like they, in 45 minutes, do an entire Hallmark movie every episode. And so there are so many hanging chads that I watched 3 episodes later. I was like, didn't that woman bury a body by the river? And now she's hosting a baking contest and it's all cool. We're not going to go back to that at all. Like, we've skipped over these. It was sort of like when I used to watch The Sopranos and they did that thing where the next season would start like 50 years after the one before. You're like, oh, I really would have loved to see that followed. Nope, we're not going to touch that. We're just passing it. Great. All right, let's keep jogging. So
2 lines of dialogue and we're bam, out of here.
Yeah. But there is that like definite, like looking at that, I'm like, I know the structure of these and anything Christmas I will watch. Everything about that structure. I'm like, that sounds, that's like a warm jacket that you just put on that feels perfect every time.
And I love what you said before, that it is what is familiar. You bring out things that you don't indulge in the rest of the year, whether those things are just having a bowl of candy at all times or
eggnog.
Yeah. Eggnog. Like what? We're allowed to just drink this liquid, like this melted milkshake. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really what kind of plugs into all of this and brings that comfort. And, I used to think of myself as the weirdo who never really stopped watching this stuff for the rest of the year. Like after writing Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, where I, because of work had to be watching, all these Christmas Carol adaptations in August, then it was like, oh, well, why don't I just do this as a matter of course? But now you've like both Hallmark channels show a Christmas movie every week all year round. Sirius XM leaves the Holiday Traditions channel up all year round.
It is permanently programmed into my car.
Nice.
Is the Holiday Traditions channel. They've just released, I texted Hal the other day when they dropped them. They dropped 14 holiday channels this year.
No, that's always it's a great day for me just because I feel less alone and less psychotic for, like listening to stuff. But like, clearly it's not just for me. Like I can't be the only person they're programming this stuff for. There are other weirdos out there who like need their Christmas 24/7, 365.
Yeah. I get it. You know what I get excited for with the serious thing? Cause I can have Holiday Traditions anytime I want. I just flip it over. Now it's on the streaming side and it's not necessarily on the satellite side. So you kind of gotta go through the app to do it, but you get it year round. But Holly.
Oh, that's good.
Holly. That's when you get Britney Spears and Justin Bieber's versions of Christmas songs. When Holly drops every year, boom, I'm in.
Holly or Jolly? Because it's a tough pick for me sometimes.
Which one's Jolly?
Jolly is just like upbeat, I think, is sort of the generic descriptor, But yeah, there's like 70s and 80s and there's rock and there's
a new jazz one.
Jazz and country and, there's a French language one this year. That's new. So,
I have to check that out.
I got to work out my Francophone Noel carols.
A Quebecois Christmas.
Maybe that's why that familiarity when I see a new film. So 2019. When Noel was released at the rollout of Disney Plus.
Yes. Noelle, yes.
Yes. I love that movie. And now it's every year I have to watch it again because number one, it's got a great cast. It's super charming, but also everything in it is so familiar. And it's just enough of like, let's see what their take on it is. Like a song that is, like Satisfaction's a great song by the Rolling Stones. Then Devo comes along and they do the definitive version of it. And you're like, oh, It's everything I love about Satisfaction, but even better. So every new version of one of these tropes rolling out is an opportunity for Devo's Satisfaction.
That's fair. Yeah. Where is the Devo Christmas album, I ask you?
Yeah.
Why are they leaving that money on the table?
I don't know.
Yeah. How else are you going to get those 8 reindeer off the roof rather than to whip it?
And I
slow clap.
And
and
goodbye forever. All right, let's talk about some tropes. Do you guys want to start with the specifically Hallmark ones and then broaden it out, or do you want to start broad and then narrow it into the Hallmark ones?
Oh, it's your show, guys. You tell me.
Mark, what do you want to do?
Let's start with, we've been talking about Hallmark. Let's start with some of the specifically Hallmark ones that are on this list.
Sure.
And some of the ones that we have 2 lists in front of us. One, we've spent the week sort of having fun throwing these 2 lists together. Hallmark, and not just Hallmark, but, Lifetime and others essentially as well. And then one list that is just general holiday movie tropes. But let's start with the specifically Hallmark ones. And we got about a dozen of these on this list. And there are some great ones. I don't know that we need to just read them off. We can also just start going through some of our favorites on this and throwing them out there. I will start with my favorite of these tropes. And when we actually mentioned this episode that we were going to do this was the first one that popped into my mind, is the old man in town named Nick or Chris, who may or may not be Santa, who at some point gives a wink either to the main character as a ding chimes, at the exact moment of a song, or right before or after something magical happens. Old man Nick, who runs the local garage or the local carpentry shop, that is my favorite. And it's always just a nice old Canadian theater actor.
Yeah.
What's crazy in these movies is that they'll do that trope, and then the leads will see that he is in fact Santa. They will see the sleigh fly away. They'll see something, and they'll be like, "Huh." And they'll just sort of get on with it. Guys, you just realized Santa is real. This is stop the presses, you know,
and you know him.
Yeah, no, they just go back to smooching, and it's whatever. Yeah. They're just they could not be less interested.
I also love that there's no real, he's Clark Kent 363 days a year, but he's just all of a sudden is Santa. He's not I've got to go take a dump. And then all of a sudden you see the sleigh take off from behind a building a couple blocks away. He's just well, I'll see you. By the way, I was Santa the whole time. Wink.
Oh, yeah. And he's always giving good advice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's one, I think it's Christmas at Pemberley Manor, where they talk about how this guy, he seems like it's a cross between, Santa and Dr. Phil, because he's got a Southern accent and he's meddling in everyone's affairs.
Oh, yeah. So that was my number one. What are your favorites?
One that I liked a lot was, You Left for the Big City and I Didn't. Which is the high school sweethearts that, are going to finally work it out. But they take this so far at Hallmark. There are even moments, there are movies where, do you remember in that last Twilight movie where Werewolf Boy sees the baby and they fixate on each other and they know that they're meant to be together once she comes of age, which is a really weird thing from the book they somehow decided to keep. There are these things where this couple, they meet and they go through the dance of Hallmark stuff. And then at the very end, they realize, oh man, we met when we were 10, and we kind of flirted and then we never saw each other again until now. It's this, there's a predestination at work here that would put John Calvin to shame, I don't know. But definitely you should go back and rehook up with your high school boyfriend who you left behind when you went off to law school, which turned you into a terrible person, but he's here waiting for you. Maybe he's widowed with a child and, maybe, but yeah, they love that so much.
I wonder how many of these tropes are, this one I think benefits from being a full plot trope.
Mm.
Yes.
This is the old man Nick is a fun little detail trope. This is a whole, you can base the entire movie on this plot. And I would argue that one of the best Hallmark Christmas movies ever made is neither a Christmas movie nor a Hallmark movie. It's Always Be My Maybe with Ali Wong and Randall Park.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the best version of the you left and I stayed back movie.
A case could be made for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I think with a Hallmark Christmas movie, that it's about half to 2/3 of a plot. And then the other part is they have to work together to save the community center, or they have to put on the fundraiser so the bookstore doesn't get demolished and turn into a parking lot, or there is a required activity that they are forced to work together on begrudgingly at first, but by the end of it, of course, like as your mom noticed, they noticed each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those plot tropes that's actually on the list is
that's actually one that I have is the developers want to shut down the shop / lodge. There is some group of developers that are like, you know what Moose Fart, Vermont needs? A giant parking lot. This area where you could count the population on your fingers and toes needs a high rise or a lodge or something that's going to somehow cause people to fly. I mean, it's like Yellowstone sort of uses that. Yellowstone on the television show Yellowstone, people are always trying to develop Kevin Costner's land for a variety of reasons.
And that show is Hallmark for dudes in a lot of
Hallmark,
ways.
Yes, it is Hallmark for dudes. It's like just a bunch of scrotums and cowboy hats walking around firing guns at each other and staring each other down. At least that area, like Montana, there are giant area, like that stuff that's sort of happening there. There's a battle between indigenous people and these ranchers, but every Hallmark movie is like the smallest town in America where some slick back hair business guy who's always on his cell phone has huge plans. Like this is the guy who's opened 9 restaurants that all closed within a week of opening.
Somehow Bain Capital is the villain in every Hallmark movie.
I have a theory about the appeal of these films that goes beyond just the sort of the tree lighting and the cookie cuttering and all the sort of Christmassy stuff. I think a couple of things that these movies capture for people. One is you never see a chain anything in these movies. It's always a local coffee shop, and a local bookstore, and a local hardware store. Nobody goes to Walmart. It's always this very kind of like mom and pop thing. And I think people really miss that because in so much of America, like that's just gone. Like you cannot find that stuff, And so I think the fact that they center it in these films, not just as a place where people go and have conversations, but as the plot of like, we have to make sure that this doesn't get taken away. Like, I think that is really appealing. And then did you guys see a book that came out about, it just had like an anniversary edition, like 10th or 20th called Bowling Alone?
No.
It's this sociologist did a book about how like apparently the title comes from the fact that in America right now more people bowl than ever before, but they generally bowl by themselves. Whereas in like the 50s and 60s, which is sort of the apex of American, kind of involved, community involvement. People belong to leagues and they belong to clubs and they were active in their PTA or their church. And people used to be joiners in this country in a way that they aren't anymore. We all stay home and watch TV. We're all on the internet and nobody goes to the meeting of the whatever society. And in these movies, there's always the whatever society because they're the ones putting on the Christmas pageant or they're the ones who are getting the scouts together to do the thing with the tree and the and so again, I think these movies are really pushing buttons of like this notion of things that we know that America used to kind of do pretty well and doesn't do anymore. And we, at the holidays especially, we wish they were there for us.
I wonder if that's why not many of them take place in a city, that they actually kind of have to take place in a small town because the community itself becomes a character.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, again, this is a network owned by a greeting card company. So they want, these movies are the equivalent of the card that you get that has a beautiful pastoral scene on it. And that is, you never get a card that has a a skyscraper with snow on it. You get a card that has like an alpine village or a horse and carriage or that dang red pickup truck with the tree in back, which somehow became the shorthand for Christmas for everybody. Yeah. And so that's what these movies
Thomas Kincaid of it all.
Absolutely. So these movies are just trying to capture that feel. They are 2-hour greeting cards.
It's weird they haven't made a series of movies with Maxine where she just burns down Christmas trees and stares at the camera for an hour.
Look, we got one Ziggy Christmas special, and that was it. But I think there's a lot of untapped potential here.
How come we don't get a very shoebox greetings Christmas, a tiny little division of Hallmark movies?
At some point, they decided that a Charlie Brown Christmas was enough anxiety for one holiday season. They're like, nope, Ziggy's too much. We already have a bunch of needy kids that are also bald. Most
exactly,
of them.
yeah.
I think of Ziggy, I just think of like, he's just the Zoloft ball looking at a rainbow all the time. Isn't that what Ziggy is?
No, Ziggy like can't catch a break. That's that's his whole shtick. But no, I think there should be a shoebox greetings channel that's like the smaller, edgier movies of the Hallmark.
Yeah. There is another trope that's not we mentioned that's not really on this list, and it's more of we actually use it a lot in improv shows, which is the event at the end. The climax event. There is something that the community is doing. You mentioned like the pageant, or in the case of Christmas in Dollywood, it was the big gala, and we sure hope that the Christmas tree will light. There's always, you know what I mean? There's always some sort of event that one of the lead characters has the potential to triumph at or screw up at.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think that speaks to the notion of like, if you are not involved, if you don't have a tight-knit community and you are not a member of like clubs or things, you don't necessarily have these big Christmas events to look forward to.
Yeah.
And one of the smart things about this network, for the most part, there are movies that are exceptions, but they really don't ever get too political or too religious, which is very shrewd and served them very well for a long time. And that's been changing a little bit, but that's a whole other podcast. Anyway, so I think that the idea that, you know, it can't necessarily just be like, well, we're all going to go to mass. You know, there has to be something else on Christmas that everybody's looking forward to, that everybody's going to gather for the, you know, the carnival, the festival, you know, we're going to light the gazebo on fire, whatever it is, you know, and it is that thing of like, oh, yeah,
I want that movie.
This is what communities do at the holidays, you know?
Yeah. All right. What do you got, Hal, for a trope from a Hallmark movie that you love?
I do love the character that's usually one of the leads where everything has to be perfect like it is in Christmas movies, which is like the person who is maybe 2 degrees of separation from Patrick Bateman. They've created this like, I'd like to puff out my beard.
It's the cozy Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, it's the cozy Patrick Bateman. And they almost always have to experience a rude awakening. Like somebody has to wake them up from it, but then they generally tend to be right anyway. And they turn out that it wouldn't be a Hallmark film if they didn't get their storybook ending in some way. They're not proven right in their psychosis.
These movies the tropes have become such a thing that the films are sort of like Ouroborosing themselves. Like there was a movie a couple years ago called A Christmas Movie Christmas, where the 2 lead characters actually like wake up and they're in a Christmas movie, and suddenly like the two actresses are Latina, but they suddenly have this like white grandmother who's making them reindeer walkers every day. And like the whole town is like, it's like being inside of a snow globe, and no one seems to have an actual job except for like the guy who runs the bakery. And it's very arch in a way in terms of like, you know what these are about, we know what these are about. And so what if somebody from the real world stumbled into one of these and had to make it work and got stuck putting on the benefit show or whatever? You know, it's a fun idea.
I love that. You know what? There's a difference too. I think you've got some movies where that person who wants everything to be perfect is the main character, and then they get their perfect Christmas by the end. But you've also got some movies where that character is not the main character. If in the case of many of the Hallmark movies, it's career woman comes back to her hometown, it's usually one of that character's parents.
Yes.
That is like, wants Christmas to be perfect. And that's their sort of B plot arc, is they meet somebody that makes their life a little messier, or something, you know, as evidenced by the slight bit of flour that's dusted across their nose in the baking scene.
Yeah, flour.
Or they have a meltdown and everybody has to sort of apologize, and then she relaxes, but everybody else tries harder to make it good, you know?
Yeah.
Look for the starched plaid apron. That's usually your tip-off.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's so good.
Oh, the visual clues, they're there all along.
All right. What else is jumping out at us from this Hallmark list?
Dead relatives are a big thing. You thought it was just Disney cartoons, but no, the Hallmark movies, like almost every heroine or hero, every character has like, oh, you know, every Christmas comes around, I just think about mom and how she made everything perfect, you know, and that can vary. Like, I'll tell you, one of my very favorite Hallmark movies from a couple of years ago, this film called Two Turtle Doves, that is genuinely about grief and about how the holidays can be bittersweet, because of the nostalgia and because of the repetition. And so now you're doing those things, but grandma's not there anymore, you know, and they have real conversations about it, including one with like a little girl who talks about how like she doesn't want to talk about like her mom who passed because she thinks her dad is always happy at Christmas time. And he's of course torn up inside, but he's like trying to put on a good Christmas for her. So it's the first time they kind of acknowledge to each other that they're trying to get each other through the holidays. Like, oh, this is like legit drama. This is really well done. But that's the exception. I think the rule is it's kind of a cheap sentimental thing of like, oh, you know, I'm sad when I pull this ornament out and then we'll not talk about it.
Well, yeah, it's usually just a monologue in the middle when they're getting to know each, in that getting to know each other section.
Yeah.
Either at the dinner
or
the
speech about, oh, you know, your mom was,
she'd be so proud of you.
Yeah, exactly. She made every day like Christmas and now you're so much like her. And well, you know, it is very much a trope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all fine. Merry Christmas.
I'm going to throw out I don't know what it is about a Hallmark movie and that last moment, but meteorologists just need to base their predictions on when people are kissing because that's when the snow starts falling.
Isn't that sometimes tied in with we haven't had a white Christmas, like it's not going to snow this Christmas after all, and then their exchange of saliva creates some sort of a weather.
Somehow it does it, yeah.
It does, although the thing to remember about Hallmark movies is that, and they might be getting away from that a little bit, but I don't think so, there's always snow on the ground. Always, always, always snow on the ground. Even if no one ever looks cold, if you never see anybody's breath, they're standing on the patio in like sleeves, you know, there is snow on the ground. But yes, sometimes there's definitely a plot point like, oh, we haven't had snow on Christmas Eve since mom died. And then, then they make
why don't you just pick up the snow that's already here on the ground?
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, again, greeting card. You got to have that snow. You know, no snow Christmas, that's for lifetime.
Oh my God.
That's for
poor lifetime
Christmas in Arizona
Christmas
or
movies.
Whatever it is they're doing, you know.
Nobody thinks Christmas movies and goes, oh, I love the Lifetime ones.
You know,
they're fine.
I will make the case that like Hallmark movies are more consistent across the board, but like the very best Lifetime movies I think are often better than the best Hallmark movies, although the very worst Lifetime movies are far worse than the worst.
Sure. Was 12 Dates of Christmas, I think that was a Lifetime movie, wasn't it?
That was ABC Family, I think.
Or that was ABC Family?
Mark Paul Gosselaar. Yeah, that was ABC Family.
It's Christmas Groundhog Day.
Oh,
great movie.
Well, you know what? Not on our list, but the definite trope is the Christmas blank. Like there's one with Alicia Witt called "I'm Not Ready for Christmas." That is Christmas Liar Liar. There are two Hallmark Christmas Family Mans, although one's a backwards family man. There's one where Lacey Chabert is high-powered career gal, and then like wakes up one morning next to her college sweetheart, and they've got kids, and she can't bake cookies.
Christmas Sliding Doors.
Basically, you know, but it's Family Man, you know, but without Nick, Lacey Chabert instead of Nicolas Cage. And then there's the reverse where Nikki DeLoach is devoted housewife who wakes up one morning and she is like big high-power business lady now, but she's alone, and where's her husband? You know, so yeah, Groundhog Day I think has turned into quite a few of them. These are some very like, oh, we'll just do that, and we'll just say Christmas every other page, and we're good.
By the way, all those plots you just mentioned sound like the list of cons that they needed in Ocean's 11 to pull it off. Reverse Family Man, a Boski.
Oh my God!
We need two Christmas liars.
We're gonna do a Christmas Groundhog Day. You're get the uniform for it.
I'm waiting for Christmas Jean Dielman, but you know, I never get what I want.
All right. What else from the Hallmark list do we like?
I mean, the precocious kid, I like. It also feels like that could be almost any Hallmark. Like it's part of a family movie in general, although it definitely applies to Christmas. You have to have a precocious kid.
Precocious kid that is the child of one of the leads.
Sure.
Much like originated in, you know, with Natalie Wood back in the day, I think, unless there's one that's before that. But Natalie Wood, Miracle on 34th Street seems like the original.
That's a pretty archetypal one. Yeah, for sure. And I think it also it's that appeal of like, not only do you get dream man / woman, but you also have built-in child and it was not terrible,
Yeah, family, the family's already a thing.
Exactly. If it's a child of a prince, so much the better. Yeah. One thing that Hallmark was doing for a couple of years, or I think they did it so much, they're kind of backing off of it, but they had a thing where like woman who is a stockbroker or a lawyer or an author or a something, and she comes home and is immediately dragooned into planning a party. Even though she has no experience or qualification, suddenly she's got to find a caterer and she's got to get the children's choir to be the waiters and she's got to get the venue and, oh no, there was a flood at the venue and the roof collapsed. So now we have to have it at the barn, like that for some reason, party planning became this thing that was just thrust upon otherwise unsuspecting career women, because they dared go home at Christmas.
Yeah. and it's because they have city skills. You've got them city skills.
Yeah.
Use them here in our small town. Surely you, as a city person, know the local caterer in our small town better than any of these other people that we could ask.
You'll have wild ideas like an ugly sweater party. What?
I added one on here that my mom, I told her about this episode and she gave me some tropes. Hers was like, you have to have a gingerbread contest. There's always a craft contest.
Yes.
And it's frequently gingerbread houses.
Yes. Gingerbread houses are huge. And just the cookie baking montages. I have seen them. I've seen them shoehorned into movies where they just make zero sense. There's one where Candace Cameron Bure is an HR person at a department store who has to plan a party.
Sure.
And then Luke Ruffalo is a fireman. And when they go to the hotel to check out the ballroom and stuff, the woman who greets them there says, "Great, but first you have to bake and decorate these cookies." Like,
oh my God.
Sorry, what?
The only way that scene would not be in one of these movies is if you made one of those Christmas version movies for Castaway. And somehow they would still figure out how to get a cookie baking contest into Christmas Castaway.
Oh, yeah. Make them out of sand,
Yeah. Or the FedEx boxes had an oven and a bunch of dough.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry. I get the logic of it, everybody. Sure.
All right.
All the supplies are washed up ashore.
All right. I think that we've kind of exhausted our Hallmark list. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to broaden it out to some of the bigger tropes that we see in holiday movies writ large. But first, let's hear about some of the other great podcasts on the Maximum Fun Network and hear from some of the sponsors that make shows like ours possible.
The holidays are upon us. Give yourself and your wallet a break. Enjoy simple, affordable meals delivered to your door and ready to go in just 6 simple steps with Every Plate. Meal planning can feel like one more item on an endless to-do list. Every Plate provides easy-to-follow recipe cards and pre-portioned ingredients so you can spend less time prepping and cooking and more time enjoying good food with family or loved ones. Choose between 17 recipes that change each week and swap proteins, veggies, and sides to your liking. Recipes come together in about 30 minutes. Definitely faster than a trip to the grocery store and starting a meal from scratch. I tried the smothered and stuffed meatloaves in addition to a few other things. And let me tell you, the prep time is simple. They give you exactly what you need. It tastes great, and it's the perfect amount of food every single time. I love having that extra time to either watch television or just relax after a long day. It makes me want to cook more because I know exactly how long it's going to take. Try Every Plate for just $1.79 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code WeGotThis179. That's everyplate.com and code WeGotThis179 to try Every Plate for $1.79 per meal.
Hello, I'm Pee Wee Herman. You might know me from TV, but I really want to be a DJ. It took some convincing, but KCRW finally agreed to give me an hour on the radio to play you some music with my friends. Anyway, tune in for 1 hour of the bestest, most funnest time you'll ever have on the Pee Wee Herman Radio Hour. I am personally inviting you to tune your transistor radio in to hear me, or go to KCRW.com. Duh. It'll be available for the whole week from November 26th to December 3rd, so you can listen to it again and again and again and again and again.
The Pee Wee Herman Radio Hour was produced by Maximum Fun and can be streamed on KCRW.com until December 3rd.
All right. We took a break. We grabbed some popcorn and some fishing wire and a needle. We're going to thread this popcorn into a garland while we talk about other Christmas movie and holiday movie tropes. So now we're looking at just the larger, grander scheme of holiday movies, stepping aside from the Hallmark list. And let's talk about some tropes that appear in a lot of different other holiday movies. Any that jump out to you?
My personal favorite is This Is Your Alternate Life.
Oh, 100%.
Which, Charles Dickens invented it, let's face
Sure.
it. But it has, we've seen so many really successful permutations of it along the way. I've long made the case that A Christmas Carol, It's a Wonderful Life, and Home Alone are all essentially the same story.
How is Home Alone?
Because they're about people who are given a glimpse at another life that they might have had or might have been subjected to, which makes them appreciate the one they already have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Home Alone counts. I think he wishes to be by himself. He sees what that's actually like and then learns his lesson that his family matters.
Yeah. I never would have connected them in that way. Cause I guess I assumed the need of some sort of supernatural element to it.
Well, that kid's a little monster, so I think we'll count that.
Yeah. Yeah. Clarence is from heaven. Kevin McAllister's from hell. We get it.
Bingo. But then you get like the Nicolas Cage version, Family, which we just talked about, where, you wake up and, oh no, if I had taken the road not taken and now I'm in the suburbs and I'm selling tires and what happened? And
12 Dates of Christmas.
12 Dates of Christmas.
She gets sprayed in the mall and falls and hits her head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Underrated, by the way. That's a really fun movie. Melissa Joan Hart's still making Christmas movies, but I think she's chasing the dragon of 12 Dates of Christmas. That's her best work. But yeah, so,
I've never heard of that. I've never heard chasing the dragon applied, not to opium, but to holiday movies.
Yeah. Potato.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that there's something about there's something kind of fundamental about Christmas that you see in movies in a lot of variations that kind of boils down to like, this year is going to be different. This year, like the family argument that we've been having for years, we're going to finally resolve it. Or the people who haven't spoken to each other in decades are going to put aside their petty differences, and the spirit of the holiday season is going to bring them back together. So, there is this idea of, back in the day, it was thought that the reason that Dickens wrote Christmas Carols and Ghost Stories, it was thought that Christmas was the day in which the sort of dividing, mesh between the living and the dead was at its thinnest, and so that's why, the ghosts were able to emerge and stuff. But yeah, I think generally speaking, there is this idea of there's some magic thing about the holiday that brings out the best in people, and that by bringing out the best in people, they're going to do something that changes their lives forever for the better.
Yeah. I think that Scrooged had the greatest version of that in that monologue at the end of the let's make our lives better. But I think that A Christmas Carol in general, that set the tone for it. You mentioned A Christmas Carol before. Just quickly, sidebar question. Do you have a favorite adaptation of A Christmas Carol?
I do. It's the 1970 musical Scrooge, starring Albert Finney. Yes.
Yeah.
Written and with songs composed by the recently departed Leslie Brickus. It's great. It's a very kind of post-Oliver musical. It's that same sort of like, the streets of London are filled with dancing cockneys, but also I think like Finney is one of the very few actors who plays young Scrooge and old Scrooge. And so
he was only in his mid 30s.
Yeah. He wasn't super old yet. So like they put on the latex for him to be the old guy, but then in the flashbacks, he's like young, hot, 1970 Albert Finney. Yeah. And so, I think it hurts all the more to see him transform from that guy to the guy that he becomes, and I think that's an added oomph that other Scrooges don't have. But there are a lot of great ones. The George C. Scott one, the Alistair Sim, there was that whole spate of, Scrooge is a ruthless career woman. There's a Susan Lucci one and a Cicely Tyson, and Vanessa Williams had a really good one.
I remember the Vanessa Williams one.
Diva's Christmas Carol, where the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is a VH1 Behind the Music episode.
Oh my God. So good.
What's yours?
Hal, what do you think?
I like the of Scrooge.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for Bill Murray, as anybody my age who's been in comedy does. So Scrooged is, I love that one. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be Muppet Christmas Carol. It's surprisingly
Also a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine is great. Like, Michael Caine gets what the best actors who work with the Muppets get, which is to treat them as if they are actual living beings that you're doing a scene with.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he never like winks to the camera once. And that's what he really like carries the film in a really, really great way.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think they call that committing to the bit.
There you go.
He commits the bit. Well, look, he's Michael Caine for a reason.
That's
and
right.
we do love him.
What about you?
I'm partial to the Reginald Owen, 1932, I think.
Yeah.
Just because the Cratchits in that one are perfect.
Yes. Oh,
the
definitely.
Lockharts, like the whole Lockhart family played the Cratchit family, and he's by far the best Bob Cratchit, I think.
Yeah, Gene Lockhart plays a lot of doofuses in screwball comedies, so it's kind of fun to see him play.
So good, yeah.
Richard E. Grant plays Cratchit in the I think the Patrick Stewart.
The Patrick Stewart one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's a weird choice, but he's really good and kind of dark and sad in it. Yeah.
And David Warner is the Cratchit for George C. Scott, and he's always playing bastards in movies. So like, he gets to be nice for once.
Yeah.
Sark?
Anyway, let's jump back to the tropes, but that is near top of my list is the This Is Your Life alternate life version. I also love this one kind of can combine into one, someone's not going to make it home. Snow has closed down the airports and freeways. That trope to me is great because it just is like hey, here's some winter themed steak raisers.
There was a couple of years ago the people make jokes about the Hallmark cinematic universe, but they don't really tie the movies together. But one year, Lifetime decided they were going to try and have one thing that threaded all of their movies together. And every time somebody had to deal with like snow coming in and closing the airports or somehow messing with the plot, it was Winter Storm Megan. And for an entire season, every Lifetime movie had Winter Storm Megan in it. And I was like, I love that. I love that you guys that these movies are all set in the same planet, But yeah.
That's so good.
It is such a handy Deus Ex Machina kind of plot convenience where like the airports are closed and the highways are backed up and, and again, we talked about the Christmas version of you get these planes, trains and automobiles thing of people desperately trying to figure out ways to get home, by hook or by crook.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Hal, what do you like?
Well, speaking of heading home, I love the person who's worried about introducing someone to their family. I think that Happiest Season from last year was a really, really great. I mean, first of all, Kristen Stewart ably doing comedy is nice
very
to see,
much
like stepping outside of her comfort zone. But the entire film so well crafted in terms of for me and how it transitions from the broader comedy to the actual issues in their relationship to what it means to never have come out to your family and have to deal with that. And of course, the father is running for office. So there's something that like this sense of like becoming who you are and embracing that. That is a lesson almost every time of bringing someone home as you learn who your family really is versus who you expect them to be. And so that's always a really fun thing to explore. And you get a reverse of that in the Vince Vaughn classic Four Christmases, where they're embarrassed to introduce anybody to their family because for various reasons that they've chosen to actively avoid them every holiday season.
Yeah, you mentioned Noel going on your like annual watch list. I'm definitely like figuring out when am I going to watch Happiest Season again. Like that one, I absolutely am making part of my annual menu of Christmas movies. That's a great one.
I've not seen that one yet.
Oh,
I have such a long list this is what's tough is I have such a long list of holiday movies that I watch every year. And there's some garbage in there. I really need to do like a weed out some of the movies that are not good that somehow made it onto because I'm such a traditionalist at Christmas that I'm like, well, I watched it once. Now I have to watch it every year.
I cycle some things in and out. I'll get kind of like, okay, this can go, and maybe another 5 years.
Yeah. I watched Christmas in Dollywood 3 years in a row with Danica McKellar.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That one can get cycled out. And maybe this one, maybe some Kristen Stewart can get into the mix.
Yeah. Maybe that could work. I mean, one of the reasons that I wrote my first Christmas movie book was, I grew up in a household that had like 4 Christmas albums. And so to me, that was Christmas music, those.
Yeah.
And so then to get older and suddenly discover like, Christmas music as a genre is this enormous thing with tentacles in a million directions. And so I kind of realized, maybe the like 6 Christmas movies that I grew up with in my house aren't the only ones. And so that was, it was a way to kind of like expand the menu. And yeah, you're right that it does call for some hard choices because you can't squeeze them in.
I've already started.
Yeah. Oh, look, Countdown to Christmas on Hallmark Channel started the weekend before Halloween.
So
I've been committed for a while now.
Oh my God.
But I hear you. You start earlier with the music and the movies in the hopes of jamming it all in. It's just impossible. So you have to start making some hard choices.
I know. Thanksgiving, we got to watch our dear friend Autumn. We actually, Hal and I are friends with a lot of the women that play the leads in these Hallmark in these movies. And she's got the Thanksgiving one. That one, she and Antonio Cupo, they did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a Thanksgiving movie. So that will kick things off.
There you go.
For the season for anyone that hasn't started theirs yet.
I've definitely asked her in the past, like, when am I going to see you in flannel on a horse again? When is that happening? Are you going now? Are you heading up to Vancouver? But like, hey, it's a good, that woman's got kids. It's a good living.
It's a great living.
She's one of the queens. No question.
She's producing them now too, I think. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Which is brilliant.
I am like Nikki DeLoach and, name just flew out of my head.
Candace Cameron Bure?
No. Ashley Williams. Those are my faves probably, but there's a lot of talented folks there. This year we get Bruce Campbell. So,
Oh, we get Bruce Campbell for one this year?
He and Peter Gallagher play dads who used to be a rock duo, and their respective children have to get them back together to perform their holiday hit. And of course, his son and his daughter fall in love.
Of course they do. And that's their version of planning a party.
Basically.
Right?
Yeah, can you guys put together a reunion tour? I know you have nothing to do with the show business, but
but your city folks. I'm going to throw out onto this, and I can, because this one is weirdly specific, but also I can think of 3 off the top of my head where this is the case, and that is Elf Who Doesn't Fit In. Specifically, I'm thinking of Santa Claus the movie, where Dudley Moore plays the elf who doesn't fit in.
True.
Prep and Landing, where Dave Foley plays the elf who doesn't fit in.
TV special, but I'll allow
TV special, sure.
Yeah.
And, of course, Elf, where Will Ferrell doesn't fit in.
Well, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, obviously.
Is the elf that doesn't fit in, yeah.
That's the original.
I never thought of it. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, Hermie the dentist really opened the door for all those other cats.
Yeah, he really, and costume-wise, too.
Yes.
Like the aesthetic of Elf is basically the aesthetic of that version of the North Pole.
He is your OG and you will respect him as such.
I will respect Hermie. He is not just a nitwit.
Would you tie that in?
Also a TV special. We'll allow it.
Would you tie that in with the person who has to either be Santa or help Santa? So you get like the Christmas Chronicles and also the Santa Claus of like, Santa Claus.
Oh, we don't have that. One's not on the list, but that's a great one.
That is a good one.
Well,
I have to help Santa or Christmas won't happen.
Santa needs a hand. Yeah.
Yeah. The Christmas Chronicles surprised me with how good it was. And then I watched the second one because Goldie Hawn was my first crush. I saw Alonso. I'm going to tell you something very personal, and you may feel differently about me after I say it. Let's find out.
This is a safe space.
I saw the movie Protocol in the theaters 8 times because I had such a huge crush on her at the age of 8. Did not get a good 70 to 80% of the humor. All I knew was that there was a lot of Goldie Hawn on screen and that we could probably work it out.
Written by Buck Henry.
Yeah, written by the great Buck. I mean, it's
legend.
Again, like as an adult, it is a much different viewing experience.
I'm a little older than you and a homosexual, of course, but yes. I had a definite foul play phase, so I hear you.
Of course, yes. Oh my goodness. I mean, you can't go wrong with Goldie Hawn. But I also am a huge Kurt Russell fan for the stuff he does on screen. So he was a great Santa Claus, and the sequel felt a lot more familiar to me in that it felt even more family oriented. The first one felt a little rougher around the edges. It had that element of like someone has passed away and the holidays are way different and it's affecting all of us. It's like a much more of a dissection of how grief, like the idea of like nobody wants to do Christmas anymore because of it, not that
exactly
sort of moment.
Because it makes us think about dad. I mean, it's weird because the first movie had so many like tropes from old Chris Columbus movies. And then Chris Columbus comes in and directs the second one.
Yeah.
Which doesn't. So, it's like, that's been an interesting franchise, but yeah, I'm a fan. I kind of dig those. Yeah. Whoever wrote 2 really knows their like Christmas history, because they're talking about like the Yule cat and like the, Santa's origins in Turkey. Yeah. Like they clearly.
Oh, wow. They've got a Krampus and a Santa Lucia and all of the international characters.
They did their Googling. They knew their stuff.
Well, he's the Belsnickel, isn't he?
The Belsnickel's the bad guy in that one. Yeah.
He's Julian, whatever his name is.
Yeah. The kid from, Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yes.
And, Deadpool 2. Yes. One that I like a lot is I'm a criminal, but the spirit of the season is making me be good.
Yeah.
Which pops up more than you would think. It's the premise of, have you seen Trapped in Paradise? The Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz.
The tree.
Yeah. And Dana Carvey.
There's a third one. Yeah.
Yes. The Furpo brothers.
Yes.
Furpo brothers.
Would you put The Ref? I know it's like not probably the best movie to talk about anymore because Kevin Spacey was in it, but The Ref is sort of in that like Dennis Leary figures out it is sort of a weird version of it.
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. I mean, the Ref, I think the main thing with The Ref is that it's doing the ransom of Red Chief, where like this guy is holding these people hostage and they're making him insane. But there is an element of like yes, I'm a ruthless jewel thief, but because it's Christmas and because we're stuck where we are, I'm going to be your marriage counselor now. Yeah. I'm one of the things that I am so furious about Kevin Spacey is taking The Ref from me because that was an annual absolute go-to movie for me. Yes. And in fact, I think one of the tropes on the list was something about like Christmas dinner is ruined. And I just always think of that like inedible Scandinavian feast that Judy Davis makes. And she makes everybody wear the Santa Lucia wreaths on their heads. That's that movie is gold, but unfortunately it's got a lot of Kevin Spacey in the middle of it, and nobody has Christopher Plummered him out of it.
Yes. And is it Glynis Johns who plays his mother?
Yes.
Oh my God. I love that. One of my favorite moments of that movie, and we don't have to talk about it anymore if this is it, is you know what I'm going to get you for Christmas? A cross. And whenever you're feeling underappreciated, you can climb up and nail yourself to it.
Christine Baranski's delivery of the line, slipper socks medium, is one for the ages.
Yes.
Christine Baranski's delivery of any line.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, quick shout out to Christine Baranski as Helena in the Shakespeare in the Park version of Midsummer Night's Dream. Best version of the Are You Guys Making Fun of Me monologue that I have ever heard. Is Christine Baranski doing it.
And to bring it back to Christmas, she is hysterically funny as the Christmas Has to Be Perfect mom in Bad Moms Christmas.
Ooh, I've not seen Bad Moms Christmas.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. All right.
I like the first one too,
like so. That's another trope that is not on this list, which is taking a movie that already exists or a franchise of movies that already exists and doing the Christmas edition. Yeah.
Friday After Next. You don't see it a lot, but
when it pops up, it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to, well, I mean, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation falls into that category.
Yeah. Another great Dinner is Ruined scene too.
Yeah. We'd already spent 2 movies with the Griswolds, but now they did their Christmas one.
Yeah. It's always it's a very blank, it's the taking off of Brady, I guess.
And
a very
Kumar.
blank Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. A very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas.
That's a hat on a hat, guys.
I bet you have so many hats stacked on top of each other at that point. That is sort of the hallmark of those movies, which I love.
They meet Santa.
Oh my God.
Yes, they get to encounter Santa.
All right. It looks like we're getting near the end. Are there any big, great ones that we love that we're missing? As far as what we think the contenders are we'll talk about what we think the contenders are, but are there any that we have not mentioned that are really delightful to us?
Soldiers Coming Home that's a pretty reliable staple.
Yeah.
Hallmark has really glommed onto it in recent years, but I think in general, it's a movie thing, and it often ties into the airport snowed in. Mm-hmm. That literal I'll be home for Christmas thing really knocks them dead.
Yeah. I would also throw on the adult who's lost the Christmas spirit, like James Caan and Elf.
Oh, yeah.
And then again, Kevin Spacey did that in the
Fred Claus.
In Fred Claus, which is another perfectly fine movie. Great Paul Giamatti as Santa.
Paul
that
Giamatti is
idea
one of
like-
the best Santas, I have to say. A terrible movie,
Yeah.
but I love his Santa.
Yeah, he's, that idea of like a kid who was let down by Santa or somehow stopped believing, who either has that
Right.
restored.
Yeah.
Generally have it restored at some point.
If you broaden it out to just like, I've lost the Christmas spirit, or I've never had the Christmas spirit and I'm getting it back. Boy, that's in most of these, isn't it?
And again,
Feels
that goes back to Scrooge too, I think,
Yeah.
the way that he like adores Christmas at the very, very end after, kind of pooping on it the whole time. Like that's very much a trope that ties all the way back. And, there's a really hilariously terrible Italian English dubbed kids Christmas movie in the 60s called The Christmas That Almost Wasn't, that they did on one of the recent seasons of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And yeah, the lead character is a guy named Phineas Prune who hates Santa because he didn't get a toy that he wanted when he was a kid. So he tries to like foreclose on the North Pole. And then they find the letter that he wrote that fell behind a filing cabinet, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah. There's a sort of offshoot of that as the person who's just been hardened. I mean, in Elf, you have James Caan, but you also have Zooey Deschanel, who starts off as like a woman trying to navigate New York City.
Yeah.
And then, and there's a lot of mistrust and general skepticism that comes with that. And then her heart being warmed by Buddy more than Santa. But this idea of that pure good and holiday spirit can actually make your life better if you let it in.
Yeah. And will make you sing in public.
Yeah.
That's right.
For all to hear.
For all to hear. Oh, I love it. All right. I'm going to throw out a couple that we seemed to latch onto and enjoy as holiday movie tropes. And then feel free to add any additional ones. I think we can start to whittle this list down a little bit. And I'm going to I'll throw out a couple of them. Y'all throw out as many as you would like as well. I'm going to say the You Left and I Didn't is a contender. I'm going to say that saving the shop/lodge/community center is a contender. I'm going to say This Is Your Alternate Life is a contender. Those are the three that I'm going to throw out to start.
Yeah, I think those would be the ones I would probably move to the top as well. Yeah. Maybe throw in Snow Closed the Airport.
Winter Storm Megan. Winter Storm Megan. That will be the catch-all.
I also want to add in the old guy named Chris or Nick might be Santa. That's the only one I want to add, just because I just love just trying to dissect that. Makes my brain cold and warm at the same time, which I appreciate.
How do you spell Megan? Is it an H? Does she have an H or no H?
That's the thing.
Is it Megan?
In some of the movies, it was Megan, and in some of them, it was Meghan. So that year, I changed my Twitter handle to Winter Storm Megan, but I had the H in a parentheses, so it could go either way.
That's so good. That's so good. And I also like the Lost and Found Christmas spirit. That last one we talked about, because it's in so many of them.
It's the Scrooge Grinch syndrome.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it looks like we have 6 contenders that are finalists for the best holiday movie trope. And those 6 are Old Nick, Winter Storm Megan, I've lost the Christmas spirit and I'm getting it back, which Alonso has deemed the Scrooge Grinch syndrome. The You Left and I Didn't. We are saving the community center from the evil developers. And This Is Your Alternate Life, a la It's a Wonderful Life and Christmas Carol. How do you want to approach this? Do you want to start eliminating them one by one?
As much as I love Save the Community Center, it just popped into my head that is also the plot of Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. So
yes,
it doesn't have to be Christmas.
That is true.
All right.
I swear I was thinking the same thing.
Well, that one, then we're down to 5.
Why didn't Shabba-Doo and Boogaloo Shrimp ever make a movie together about Christmas? Why?
Don't make me pass out. That's too exciting to even contemplate.
I promise I will. A very Breaking Christmas.
Breaking all the way. I mean, come
Breaking
on.
all the way.
Oh my God. All right. What are we eliminating next?
In Breaking 2 where they're breakdancing, like they're patients with casts doing head spins.
Yes, there is.
I just wanted to make sure that wasn't a fever dream I had when I was a child. I saw that in the theater with my father. He was he was like, let's go.
All right. Still in contention. Alternate Life, Old Nick, Winter Storm Megan, Scrooge and Grinch, and You Left and I Didn't.
Is the alternate life the fact that we refer the shorthand for it as sliding doors?
That is
something that feels more. I mean, it is ultimately, It's a Wonderful
Christmas
Life.
Carol.
It's probably the
It's a Christmas Carol is the ultimate original version. Yeah.
It's the Pottersville, it's the road not taken. It's the, be grateful for what you've got because it could have been this.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, I think you could even make a case because it ties in so strongly to Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life that This Is Your Alternate Life and Adult Who's Lost the Christmas Spirit could kind of like coexist.
Yeah, they're we even called it. I mean, it's the Scrooge syndrome of it.
Granted, there are adults who lose their Christmas spirit and then have it brought back to them, like you said, James Conner Elf, that doesn't involve the alternate life thing. But I'll put it this way. You can have Scrooge Grinch without alternate life. You can't have alternate life without Scrooge Grinch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever that means.
Can we call the combination How Cratchit Got His Scrooge Back? Would that be okay?
This was a fun 6-year run. Hal, I'm leaving.
All right, great. I won the podcast. I did it. I told you all I wouldn't quit first. I told you episode 1.
You drove him right out.
Yeah.
All right. So, now we're combining those. So we're down to 4 on a technicality, and we will call that one. Yeah, we will just call that one Change of Heart.
All right.
Supernatural Change of Heart. Right. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. What was it? How Cratchit got his, say it again?
Scrooge back.
All right. We'll call that one How Cratchit Got His Scrooge Back.
There you go.
I don't want to eliminate any of these, but we have to. That's the point of this show. We got to get down to 1. You know what? Let's go round robin style. So we don't have to all agree on each one that we're eliminating each time.
Okay.
Hal, how should we do this?
You eliminate, then I will eliminate, and then we'll have one.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to eliminate, as much as I love him, and he was the first one I thought of, I'm going to eliminate Old Nick. I love Old Nick, but I'm going to eliminate Old Nick. I don't have to give you a reason why I'm eliminating Old Nick other than I have to eliminate one. I love all of these babies and I don't want to kill any of them.
Old Nick is a wonderful side dish, but you can't build a movie on it.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for justifying my.
That leaves us with You Left for the Big City and I Didn't, How Cratchit Got His Scrooge Back, and Winter Storm Megan. I think I have to eliminate Winter Storm Megan because when I think of her, the movie that I think of right away is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is a Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah. Well, then it comes down to you, Alonso.
Oof.
And the choice that you have to make is basically looking at this. It is some alternative life has rekindled the Christmas spirit in me versus You Left and I Didn't, which does kind of boil this down to classic Christmas movie or Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yeah. And to be fair, Hallmark has gone with the, This Is Your Alternate Life.
That's fair.
So we're not shutting them out entirely.
Sure.
Let's be clear. Sure. In the same way that Save the Community Center doesn't have to be Christmas, I have seen seasonal Hallmark movies that are not Christmas that do the You Left and I Didn't. Perfect Catch with Nikki DeLoach and Andrew Walker, where he's a pro baseball player and she owns a local diner. He left and she didn't. So again, I think that one, great trope, but doesn't have to be Christmas. So if we're really going to lock into a Christmas movie trope that has to be in a Christmas movie, it's going to be How Cratchit Got His Scrooge Back.
There you go.
That's it.
Asked and answered.
I think we all knew where this was going, people of the world. It was going to be, it's hard to escape. You can't step out of the shadow of Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. It's the most iconic Christmas story of them all. And this theme is something that has been repeated over and over and over again to see what your life might have been like so that you can appreciate what you have. And oftentimes the best time to appreciate the things that you have rather than worrying about the things that you want is during the holiday season. It's a time to spend time with family and friends and really take stock of the good things in your life. So I hope that you do that. Don't be a beginning of the story Scrooge. Be an end of the story Scrooge.
There's a reason that A Christmas Carol is the most adapted piece of literature in English language movies.
Wow. Exactly.
Yeah.
No kidding.
That's it. Asked and answered. The best Christmas trope. Wow, we did it.
We did it.
It seemed impossible.
It did, but we brought we had a ringer with us today, and Alonso, you are literally the expert. Not only did you write the book on this topic, you wrote the book on this topic twice. So thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
Where can people find you? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to see? Tell them about you got a Max Fun podcast, for God's sake.
I do. I'm on the Max Fun show, Maximum Film, with Ify Wadaway and Drea Clark. And every week we look at film from the perspective that is not straight white guys. No offense to straight white guys. We love you too.
None taken.
But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at @Duralde, ADURALDE. As I tell people, come for the Christmas, stay for the socialism. But I link to all the stuff that I'm doing there, whether it's reviews for The Wrap, whether it's the podcast, Linoleum Knife that I do with my husband, with Maximum Film, Breakfast All Day. I've been appearing a lot lately on Deck the Hallmark, and those guys, I wrote the book with, I'll Be Home for Christmas Movies. It's out now from Running Press, wherever books are sold. They don't have it, make them get you one, but, it's a fun read, and it's a great gift for anybody in your life who loves Hallmark movies or loves to dunk on Hallmark movies.
Amazing. And get it from a local, guys. Get it from a local.
For sure.
And thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. This was an absolute treat. This topic is closed for all time, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us on Twitter at We Got This Tweets, or
you can email us at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or go to our Facebook group. Talk about the holiday tropes and holiday movies that you love. Facebook.com/groups/WeGotThisPodcast. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
Hal, I'm glad you brought back the / because last time you just said / and I was a little disappointed.
Well, I think people got confused, so I brought it back.
Fair enough. Thank you, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, for giving us a chance to sit down and talk about a thing that we clearly all enjoy so much. May we all get visited by 3 ghosts that show us the best parts of our lives, and at the end of the night, just tell us to keep doing what we're doing. I thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
And for Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. Don't worry, everybody.
We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.